Hey friends, it's Christmas Eve. I am in an Airbnb in Santa Fe, a block or two from my parents' house where we are all about to gather. It's lovely. It's freezing cold. It's a snowy, sunny Christmas Eve. And I've had, I was kind of reflecting a lot of times around the holidays. What what comes through in my posts is, of course, somehow related to the holiday, just because that's what my mind is doing. And I was reflecting a little bit on, for some reason, this was kind of like, I didn't do this on purpose, but my mind started to go to people who have been in my life who have either passed away or just passed out of my life in some way. And I think this has what it conjures for me, or what those memories bring up for me, is a sense that I've received gifts from certain people in my life. Some of them are still living, some of them have passed away, but I can really identify in some way specific gifts that I've received. And when I think of the gifts that I've received, what I think of is either the skill sets and or the insights, the understanding. I think of the people who have informed me deeply, either creatively and or in a wellness kind of way, in a sort of like quality of life, spiritual practice. I was speaking yesterday about my qigong practice, and I might have touched on, I don't remember, talking about my qigong teacher. I've really only had one. I mean, I did a little bit of practice before I met this teacher, a guy named Chris Chappell in London. I spent about 5.5 years working with him, and that is the practice that I maintain to this day. I mean, I learned everything from him. Now, I gleaned, you can't practice that long, even with a single teacher, without also beginning to pick up things from other sources, and being kind of steeped in a tradition inherently connects you to more than the single teacher who's imparting that tradition, or who's the kind of lineage carrier, as I think they call it in Tai Chi and Qigong. But ultimately, that teacher is the one who makes it all possible, who opens the door, opens something in our awareness, and teaches us, hey, your body can do this, your energy can do this, your consciousness can do this. Check it out. Look, let me lead you here. And it's one of these gifts that I don't know. It was actually really interesting to do my post yesterday, and to be talking about Qigong. And then I got a couple of comments from people, 2 comments from 2 people who I believe had never seen a post of mine before, just kind of randomly came across it. Both of them said, I just didn't even know what Qigong is, but I'm interested. And one person was asking like where he might be able to learn it in his area, so I just looked up in his area where there might be some teachers. But I found that really satisfying. Really, it struck me, and I found it really satisfying to get that response to a post that, again, it was just what was showing up for me yesterday. But it clearly struck a chord with some people who were not Qigong practitioners. These are people who didn't know anything. I don't even know why they clicked on the video. They didn't even know what Qigong was necessarily until they heard me talk about it, and it evoked something. So it brings home for me that practice is such a gift. I have been given an enormous gift by my teacher, first and foremost, and then by the entire, just like sort of mind-bogglingly large and long series of teachers who started these traditions that my teacher ultimately received and developed them and continue to develop them. Just remarkable. And I have kind of a similar thing with a music teacher. With a couple of music teachers. I have a couple of people in my life where I can point to them and say, this person really opened a door to an understanding, to a capacity, and to ultimately a relationship to music. You know, I've been thinking about how I work with my young daughter, who's 5 years old. We do some listening exercises every day, and I play phrases on the piano, and I just give her little ear training exercises. And I recently started thinking, you know, I should be writing down what I'm doing, because I'm walking her through a process, and it's like sometimes I think, you know, I have this massive background in music theory. I have such a long standing history with it. I have the teacher of mine who was so influential was a jazz musician, jazz arranger, jazz composer, jazz pianist, jazz singer, ran a choir that I was in for a number of years, and he was also bar none, by far the best harmony teacher, the best jazz theory teacher I had ever had. Completely catalyzed my whole relationship to the music, and especially to the theoretical side of the music, because my ears and what I understood and my ability to use what I knew, my ability to connect concepts to each other and just kind of synthesize the knowledge into an all-around musical set of capacities, that all happened under one teacher. I had lots of other people who taught me stuff, but he's the one where it all happened. And I think about, you know, sometimes when I'm working with Annalise, I will look at the sort of vast landscape of music theory and music in general, what our ears ultimately are doing as musicians. And I'm like, I don't know how you get there. I don't know how you lead someone there. But what I've found is I just do one thing. And before I know it, I get a little stroke of inspiration and I do another thing. Like the other day, I was working with her on listening. We were just doing some listening exercises, and I realized that I was already she's already getting quite good at identifying notes. Like if I play a little melodic phrase and then ask her to sing it back in solfege, she can basically do it. There's almost nothing. Her ear hears very, very well. So then I started adding in chromatic solfege, like the lowered scale degrees or the raised scale degrees that we might use, and that she's already playing them in her pieces, but being able to really hear and understand what those are. Now, ultimately, there's a reason why those lowered and raised scale degrees are there, and it has to do with harmony and function. And I'm like, how do I get there? I don't know. I don't actually know that step yet. But, I mean, I know how I teach it to a high school kid who already knew a bunch of this or had a platform for it, but I don't know how you get there from this age. But what I do know is I started then, there was this one day, maybe like a week or two ago, I was like, there's no reason we couldn't just start singing all the triads of a key. And I started just playing the one chord, and then the 2 chord, and then the 3 chord, and just singing the notes. Do, mi, so, mi, do, re, fa, la, fa, re, mi, so, ti, so, mi, fa, la, do, la, fa. Just singing all the solfege pitches of all the chords of the key. And she nailed it. It's to the point now where if I play the first note, she can sing the chord. So that means she doesn't know yet that there are 3 major triads and 3 minor triads and 1 diminished triad in a key, in any major key. But she does know it in the sense of her ear already knows how to sing these pitches. Her ear already knows when she builds a chord on T, on the 7th, that it's T, re, fa, re, T. That's a diminished triad. She already knows how to sing that. So then I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. And eventually that will be something that can just crystallize into a nugget of understanding where it's not just random pitches that she happens to know how to sing because her ear has been trained to work within tonality. It'll be actually possible for her to understand, to hear it and immediately go, oh yeah, that's a diminished triad built on the 7th. And so the reason why this is, obviously it's exciting just on the level of watching a young person blossom, build their understanding. It's also exciting because I realize that I don't have to know how I'm giving my gifts. I don't have to know how to give my gifts. I just have to give it. I just have to sit with the person and give the gift. Just, I automatically know what the next step is in giving the gift. In the same way that I automatically knew what the next step was in receiving the gift. I knew how to find the teachers. I knew what classes to sign up for, what courses to take, when to switch to a different teacher. I just kind of knew. And I think it's the gift giving season, right? It's Christmas Eve. So as I reflect on what it means to give a gift, what it means to receive a gift, it's like love crystallizing into these units that can be transferred. And in the case of, everything I've talked about so far, you can tell it's not material gifts. It's creative gifts. It's gifts of knowledge. It's the gift of inspiration. It's the gift of a language to understand a universe. And in that context, with that understanding, I have received, I can't believe what I've received in my life. It's hard for me to fathom everything I've received. I'm immensely grateful. And I want to encourage myself not to get hung up not knowing how to give my gift. That's not the right place for my energy to go. The right place for my energy to go is to just be present and see an opportunity and give the gift. Just start. So that's where I am on Christmas Eve. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you. Merry Christmas. I'll see you tomorrow.